The stupid recipe is written really stupid. Paul, Hollywood, you have written this poorly. Hi, and welcome back to Aggressively Average Baking, a series where we just try and do our best, because that's all anyone can ever ask of you. Today, we are making an opera cake, which is apparently incredibly difficult to make. I can already feel that this is going to be incredibly tedious. I'm using Paul Hollywood's recipe from the Great British Bake Off.co.uk. There are some things that I am already not going to be doing, as he says. I don't have any acetate. I'm not going to go buy it. But I am going to follow his recipe as much as possible, and we'll see how we go. So the first step is to bring to a simmer. I think that's a simmer, isn't it? I always get confused between a simmer and a boil. But like simmer, that's a simmer, isn't it? So I've brought my cream to a simmer and I've got my chocolate in a heat-proof bowl. I really hope this is heat-proof, I'm sure it is. I cut the chocolate into 4 squares because it was too stiff to cut into single squares, so hopefully that's okay. Then it says to leave this for 2 minutes. Been 2 minutes, stir this. It's not completely melted. Is it meant to be completely melted? I might just microwave it because this was definitely simmered. I didn't want to burn the cream. I'm gonna zap this for 30 seconds in the microwave. We're on like basically step 1. I'm already changing things. It didn't melt, and I don't want to burn the cream. I didn't want to bring it to a boil. This is getting a bit better. See how this is looking more emulsified now because that chocolate has melted. And then we're gonna stir in the butter. Alrighty, I think that's looking smooth and beautiful. I've never made, well, it's a bit lumpy. Okay, so I'm gonna put this to the side and make the sponge. So now it's time to make the sponge, and the sponge is called a Joconde sponge. Oven is preheating. I only have 1 baking sheet, so I'm just gonna have to use it twice. Lined. I'm also very excited because we finally have another use for the almond flour that I bought for the macaron video. Caster sugar, eggs. Now I have to whisk this to ribbon stages. What does that mean? Not entirely sure. We'll find out. Is that ribbon stage? Is that like a ribbon? The fact that he said ribbon stage makes me wonder if it's like not too much, because otherwise he would just say well whisk. So it makes me think like it's a stage before you completely whisk it. So I might just leave it there. Is that a ribbon? Well, I'm sure we're about to find out if I've done it right. Now in the stand mixer, we do the meringue part. 5 large egg whites, just the whites. Oh, and then I think we need the yolks for something else. So I need to make sure I get a bowl for the yolk. Oh my God, it's in my hand. Saved it. Okay, 1. I'm so much shell stuck to me. I feel like this task isn't usually so difficult, but today I'm making it difficult. Okay, 2. Got it, nailed it, luckily it didn't break. Oh my God, this is so hard. Last one, lucky last. Okay, oh, and some shell. 5. I've just realized I put way too much sugar in that mixture because the stupid recipe is written really stupid. Paul, Hollywood, you have written this poorly. So it says in the ingredients list for the sponge, or Joconde, it says 225 grams of caster sugar. So I put 225 grams in that. But then in the instructions, it should have been 150 in that and the remaining 75 in this. The question is now, do I just leave that, because that's got all the sugar allowance in it, and just whip this up like a meringue just with no sugar, and then just fold it in, because then the end result has the right amount of sugar? I'm gonna do that. I think we're getting there with the old stiff meringue. That's it, it's a pretty stiff meringue. Do we do it? What was my plan if that didn't work? It's a lot of eggs. Okay, that's stiff, we're good. Now I'm gonna read the instructions really carefully because Paul Hollywood doesn't seem to understand that some of us need the instructions to be written clearly, i.e. me. Gently fold. So we're here. I think that's a really good sponge. It's still like really super light and fluffy, but it seems quite mixed in. 50 grams of flour, and I've got my nice flour from when we did the croissants. Sifted. Don't say I never sift anything. And melted butter. Now, Paul Hollywood's recipe has all these like measurements and maths and things like that, and I'm just not gonna even really attempt it. I was never good at those like word math problems, and that's what he seems to be presenting. So I've got this baking sheet. It's the only baking sheet I own that could be relevant to this task. So I'm just gonna bake 2 in this, then it takes 10 minutes to cook. I do think the batter's come out well. It seems really light. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, my understanding is it's meant to be like thin layers of cake. I'm gonna pop this in the oven for about 10 minutes, but I'm gonna keep a really good eye on it because I have no idea if this is the right size to cook in 10 minutes. So that has been 10 minutes. Look, I think it's pretty well cooked. I think that's good to go. It doesn't say to do the test to make sure it's cooked all the way through, but it's very thin and it feels like it's cooked all the way through. So now I've got to put this in the cooling rack because I've got to cook another one, and I feel like it might break. Bold and brave, bold and brave, bold and brave, bold and brave. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna let this cool and I'm gonna cook the other one. Where am I gonna put this to cool it? Now I think I only need to get half a sheet's worth of sponge out of this because it's 3 layers, and I'm not doing Paul Hollywood's measurements. I'm just gonna do whatever 1.5 sheets of this is. So this is what we've got. I filled just over half of the pan with the sponge. Pop it in there for 10 minutes. And whilst we do that, I'm just going to move on to the next step. The next step is to make the soaking syrup. It's just water, sugar. Got to bring that to a boil. Let it simmer and add in a bit of coffee. That's a boil, yeah? That's not a simmer. That is a boil. Because you have a simmer, a boil, and a rolling boil. And then you have a witch's boil. I'm going to add in my coffee. Paul says a tablespoon of coffee essence. I don't have coffee essence. I'm not about to spend $10 on it. So I'm just going to put in more than a tablespoon of actual coffee. I'm just going to boil it so that the water comes out. So it gets that coffee flavor. And we're just going to boil out some of the extra water. I see no flaws with this plan. It's just a soak at the end of the day. I think that's good enough. Now I need this to cool completely. So I'm just going to... Isn't that just a cup of coffee? Isn't boiling water, sugar and coffee just a cup of coffee that's really sugary? Just made a cup of coffee. And that is that sponge done. Ooh, ooh. Maybe don't put your arm on the pan. Okay, cool, I'm gonna let that cool down. I don't have another wire rack, so it'll just have to cool down. I think the last thing I'm gonna make is the French buttercream. This is quite a few tasks. So for the French buttercream, my egg yolks from earlier, and whisk until pale, thick and creamy. Okay, I reckon they are pale, thick and creamy. I'm pretty happy about that. The next step is even more sugar and water. You have to melt this to the soft ball stage. Not sure what that means. What is a soft ball stage? What am I looking for? I don't know, I'm gonna call it there. Now I have to very slowly pour that boiling hot sugar water into here without, I'm guessing, cooking the eggs in any way. I do feel like this has disaster written all over it, so I am gonna do this slowly as. And a little bit of coffee. And we whisk and whisk and whisk and whisk, I guess. Videos that I've seen on the internet just make me believe that I just gotta let this go and it will whisk into some beautiful, lovely cream. That's what we are looking like. I think it looks amazing. I have never made French buttercream before, but let me tell you, delicious. Now we are on to assembly. Got all my pieces. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get 3 equal size sponges. I do think this is going to be a delicious cake. Okay, assembly! I don't have acetate sheets, so not doing it that way. Spread one side of the sponge with all of it, or just a thin layer? A very thin layer of chocolate, and then put chocolate side down on the base. Okay, I'm going to use this. So now I need to put it chocolate side down on here. I'm thinking, am I best off doing this? Because it's so delicate. Oh, yep, great. Okay, just cleaned this. Brush lightly with the coffee syrup. It says spread half the chocolate ganache over the sponge. I mean, half feels like a lot. So here it is, that's the ganache. And then I do believe I need to freeze this for 10 minutes. Pouring over the edge, but that's okay because I'm gonna cut the edges off. Whilst that is freezing for 10 minutes, I think now is a really strong time for me to ask you to like, comment, subscribe. So that's been frozen for 10 minutes, looking pretty set. Half of the buttercream. Somewhat of an even layer of buttercream. Oh, it's really not even at the sides, is it? Oh well, that's where we're at. We're gonna cut the edges off to get that crisp edge anyway, so it's fine. Brush with coffee syrup. Now, I'm gonna change up what Paul Hollywood has said here because I don't understand it. I'm not doing these separate chocolate decorations because again, you need acetate, not doing it. He's saying use the rest of the ganache now, but then what goes on top, Paul? So I'm just gonna use half this ganache, save half for the top. Here is where we are at, these layers. I'm gonna freeze this for another 10 minutes. It's been frozen for another 10 minutes, so final layer of assembly. I think it's looking cool. I think it's looking cool as. All of the remaining buttercream. And then, because I am doing it slightly different than what Paul Hollywood says, I'm gonna now finish my ganache. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! I think it looks really good. What we're looking like, I've left the swirl on purpose for decoration. These are kind of the layers at the side. Look, I do think there's room for improvement in terms of making my layers a bit more even, but I'm gonna freeze this for as long as it takes, and then we're gonna cut the edges off, and in theory, it's gonna be really sharp. So I have this frozen. Well, it's not completely frozen. I had it in there for about 20 odd minutes. I thought I wanted it completely frozen, and then I thought, hang on, you can't cut it completely frozen. So I'm gonna try and cut this, and I'm gonna use my really long knife. Ooh, yeah, this will work. Look at that. Look at that in those layers. Okay, so here is where we're at. I'm really actually genuinely proud of it. So the border here, that's still on the base tray because of when we put the melted chocolate on first, but that's okay, so that's a learn for next time. Look at all those layers. So this is what it looks like as a little cut piece. I'm also gonna take this opportunity to share with you, I have reread the Paul Hollywood recipe. I'm not supposed to put the ganache on the top. He actually has a whole nother element which I completely missed, which is like a chocolate glaze. But I don't think this thing needs any more chocolate. It doesn't need any more cream. This is decadent enough. I'm fine with the solution I had. Look at these bits. I'm gonna eat them. I'm pretty proud of it. Not bad for first try. And now let's try this opera cake. You know, it's very rich with the ganache actually. That might be the richest cake I've ever eaten. Dark chocolate, which is good. It's a bit full on. I feel like this is maybe 100 servings and there's only 2 people in my house. But I think I did a pretty good job. Would I make this again? No, because it's a lot of faff for something that is maybe a bit too rich for my palate. Sorry, I just like regular cake. But the French buttercream, 10 out of 10. I am absolutely doing French buttercream again because that was extra tasty. That's so delicious. Overall, I think I did a good job. Could it be prettier? Yes. Are there things to improve on next time? Sure. But that's why it's aggressively average. We're not professionals. We're learning. We're trying. I never would have made an opera cake if I wasn't making these videos. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time. I will see you in the next one. Bye! Videos every other weekend.